And welcome back, everybody, to a fabulous new episode that you've never asked for. And welcome, Wallace Ryan.
Yay! Yet another episode of In the Library of Graphic Literature.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, with your two favorite people, us. Luna. So it's a nice, beautiful, sunny day out. And, well, I guess...
And he won't go out and enjoy it.
I won't go out and enjoy it.
I have to drag him by the little ears.
Yeah, but I have to finish off a comic first. Speaking of which, we're within that close of being fully funded on our Kickstarter for our town. A collection of great stories from 8 of St. John's coolest comic book artists. And it's little stories about their own neighborhood. So it is pretty cool. So go online, check it out on Kickstarter, and pick yourself up one anyway. Even if it is, you know, even if we have reached our goal, at least put your name in and get a book put aside for you. Because with a certain amount of money, of course, you get a free.
Speak up, Wallace. Speak up.
You get
towards
a free
the camera.
Towards the camera. You get a free book, and in some cases, like you can get, there's a three book deal, which is like I think $60, something like that, which is pretty darn good for a hardcover book. And there's color in it, some gray tones, which are mine, and the book was the design and all that is really cool. It's by our pal Paul Tucker. Yay, Paul! But it looks really amazing. He just took a bunch of my sketches and he turned them into a whole design vocabulary. It was quite amazing. So you have to check it out. It's just called Town St. John's in Comix. So there's shameless plug. Now we only have one new book this week, but it also gives us an idea for some other books to have a look at. Now the new book is, of course, it's a famous anthology from Marvel. This is Marvel Fanfare. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Dig the fanfare. Now this came out in like 1980, I think it was, or let's double check. 82. So this covers 82 to 85, I think it is, yeah. And basically, they were just, it's an anthology title, so like, actually with this one, the first 3 or 4 issues have to do with Spider-Man and Kazar and the Hidden Land, and then the X-Men are involved and stuff like that. Then after, there's a 2-issue Doctor Strange sort of story. Then there's a whole bunch of different individual ones, and there's one of my favorite anthology-based comics of them all. This was Marvel Fanfare, done by Barry Windsor-Smith, and it's the Thing and the Human Torch, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And then there's a Frank Miller in here, some Dave Cockrum, another one of my favorites, and two-part. 2 or 3-part Black Widow by gigantic George Perez. Yay! But I love this cover too, by the way. This guy, he came out of nowhere, Mike Golden, and he just became a super hot artist in the 80s. He did Micronauts and he did the Nam, which they're going to finally reproduce. But this one here, absolutely stunning artwork, and the fact that it's different artists. There's Charles Vess is in here, like I say, Barry Windsor-Smith, all kinds of different people. Gil Kane, and of course, my personal favorite, like I say, where is it here now? There it is. This is the artwork, even though it's a Fantastic Four and all that, the artwork is absolutely beautiful. Like he wakes up in the morning, the Human Torch is after putting a kick me sign on his back, and it's just a fun day of hijinks between the Thing and the Human Torch, who are always at each other's throats. Anyway, a great story, and this is only volume 1. In volume 2, there's a story, The Angel from the X-Men, by this guy Dave Mazzucchelli, and oh my God, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. So this one, that's one of the best books I think this year.
Is it?
Oh yeah, we shouldn't be throwing them down like that. Now, and that leads us into our topic today, which is of course great Marvel Anthologies. That of course was an anthology title, and the cool thing about that was Marvel Fanfare was meant for, like, they're really good artists at the time. And so you could see some great titles. In the 70s, a lot of times, it was almost kind of the opposite. They used them to test out artists and stuff like that, test out characters and all that, which in the end made it for some great comics. And I got a few examples of that. This one, now I'm not going to go through the anthology titles of the 50s, the monster comics as we call them. I picked up one that sort of straddles between the monster comics anthologies and the superhero ones. This was amazing adult fantasy, and it was mainly, I do believe there was a bit of Kirby in here, but mainly a lot of Steve Ditko. And the last issue was Amazing Fantasy number 15, of course, which was well known as the last issue of this title, but the first appearance of Spider-Man. Mm. So I mean, they went from doing monsters and all that to next thing they're doing Spider-Man, and that was the end of the monster comics of the 50s and very, very briefly 60s. But a lot of the art, especially the Ditko art, is absolutely fabulous. The thing I like about Ditko, someone once said all the characters in all of his comics look like they're half insane. The tension is there, right? So anyway.
I'm sure the writers do too.
Yeah. But definitely him. Right? So this was from 61 to 62, so this one didn't last that long. Next up was Marvel Superheroes presents, and then whatever it presents. This one was Kazar. Now this was issue number 19, so this had been going on for a while. This started in 67 and went to 69. It also features the first appearance of Captain Marvel, one of my favorite superheroes, and one of the few Marvel titles I actually bought during the 60s as a kid. For some reason, it just looked really cool. The Kazar here, I mean, it's not bad. It's done by, I think it's done by Barry Windsor-Smith, actually. Yeah. And then there's, George Tuska. But in this is, speaking of it actually came out into Astonishing Tales, which was another anthology title, including the guy who did Conan. There he is. Oh no, this is Herb Trimp here. Barry Windsor-Smith. Oh, here we go. This is the early Barry Windsor-Smith. This is just coming off of around the Conan era, so the artwork is actually pretty good in this. So check out some early, and that's, like I say, that one was Astonishing Tales, but Marvel Superheroes itself had a lot of cool first time things. Nothing spectacular though per se. Then along came the Marvel Feature, which was 71. It started. And this was best known for the first appearance of the Defenders, which they're not like the Defenders on Netflix. It was the Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Namor were the Defenders, and Silver Surfer. But the Marvel Feature, what else did they do? Was this, and there was another title too, I can't remember for the life of me. But Marvel Feature, it was, I think it was Moon Knight. But it ran a few issues of the Defenders, and then they went on to their own title, and it ran something else. And that's what they tend to do a lot during the 70s. This one is Amazing Adventures. This started back, this one here is from, this is from the 70s. Ooh. I can't remember exactly when, but Amazing Adventures started, I think, like in 70 or 71, I think it was, 70. And in terms of an anthology title, now it started with a true bang. Oh, thank you. The first issue had like Jack Kirby and John Buscema and all kinds of great artists in it, and eventually Buscema was replaced by Gene Colan, Gene the Dean, and Kirby was replaced by the amazing Neil Adams. So they had a few amazing issues, especially the Black Widow by Gene Colan, absolutely stupendous. But yeah, Amazing Adventures, and then later on came to War of the Worlds, which turned into Kill Raven by Don McGregor and P.Craig Russell, which was an absolutely gorgeous comic. Oh, let's see. Every title I'm flipping through it, a couple of they're ending on pages drawn by other people. Hang on a sec. Let's see. Oh no. But this guy, he was absolutely stupendous. Oh, here we go. Is this? Yeah, here we go. I mean, look, if you're not familiar with P. Craig Russell, you should be. He's famous for he did a lot of books with Neil Gaiman, actually. So, Amazing Adventure, another great anthology title. Now, one of the best of them all, Marvel Premiere, yay! Now, Marvel Premiere, this went from 72 to 81, which is pretty good, actually. And they would run, like this is number one, but it features Warlock, and it was basically they took his hero from this, a throwaway hero of Kirby's from the 60s and turned him into a mainstream character. And so he ran for a couple of issues, and they had, I think it was a couple of other, Iron Fist ran for a couple of issues. Then what they started doing was reviving some series, like Doctor Strange had been cancelled in the late 60s, but he was still kind of cool, so they figured they got Barry Windsor-Smith, and they put him on it, and he did a few issues run along with this guy Frank Brunner. Gee, they had almost like an 8-issue run, I think it was, till they finally said, okay, let's give him. He's deserved. He deserves a comic now, and thus was reborn Doctor Strange again. So it was great. Marvel Premiere. But later on in Marvel Premiere, it tended to be a lot of 1 and 2 issue episodes. It was even a Doctor Who, and but they'd be just like 3D Man, Liberty Legion, a lot of these quickie ones. But the Marvel Premiere, like I say, it lasted 10 years, 11 years. So it was, to me, it was one of, and they still haven't given it its own Marvel Masterworks. For shame, I say, Marvel, get to work on that. Okay, now we're going to close out with one of the other great titles, which was Marvel Spotlight. Now this was famous for, of course, Ghost Rider, I think Son of Satan, even Werewolf by Night. The Son of Satan one, it's just like, I just wonder if they'll ever reprint that series from the 70s, because the art in it was actually really good. Of course, it's about the Son of Satan, but hey, if you could do it back in the 70s, why can't you do it now? You'd think people have softened their views on the Son of Satan. But anyway, very cool. But this starts with Ghost Rider and Werewolf by Night, because, the Comics Code Authority had really started to lose its power, and DC and Marvel jumped into the horror market in the early 70s with both feet. So you had everything from your Swamp Things to your Ghost Riders to anything that was scary. The Tomb of Dracula, they all came out in the 70s. So they went mad. House of Secrets, House of Mystery, all those DC mystery horror titles and all that. It was a golden age. But anyway, so it's well worth looking up a lot of these titles. Now, in among these too, there are some like small 1 and 2 issue runs of these really neat little stories. There was one called Wood God, and I can't remember whether that was Marvel. I think it was Marvel Premiere. It could be Marvel Feature. But it was a great little story by Keith Giffen, and it only went 1 issue. Now, they did reintroduce a character in the later Marvel team up with Spider-Man, but it was just like a great little character, and I'm surprised that they haven't done more with it. And there's a lot of them out there. So Marvel, because I've seen a lot of people complaining on the Marvel Masterworks website about there's rumors going around that Marvel's thinking of discontinuing or slowing down, which means cancelling the Marvel Masterworks line. And some people are upset, but I'm of two minds of it. A lot of stuff they've been putting out lately, like say the latest Spider-Man or Avengers or Fantastic Four. They're from the late 80s, and to be quite honest, the quality of Marvel back then had really dipped. They really aren't masterworks anymore, right? So I think they should just quit with those and start printing stuff like the Marvel Feature, Marvel Premiere, a lot of stuff that they haven't printed. And one of my personal favorites, The Fool Killer from the 1990s. Absolutely cool comic. This is a comic series you would like, I think, right? And it's one of the best written comic series, I think, from the 90s. And it's this guy, he's takes up the mantle of the Fool Killer, who is this sort of a bizarre serial killer type of character, right? But he strikes out against fools. He goes out there killing fools, basically the rich, the corrupt, the bad people, who he considers fools. And it's pretty good. It contains some of the most intense lines of any comic, equal to even the best Neil Gaiman or Alan Moore. I'm a Gerber fanatic. Anyway, so I managed to squeeze that much out of one new book. Now I've been thinking about that now, coming up a lot of times. If I only have one book, and I kind of got to do a show, then I'll do a new book plus throw in a theme. So this week it was Marvel Fanfare and all its brothers and sisters. Yay! Now, given that, it's time to close up shop and make a run for the border. Yay! See you next week. Bye!